I feel like my channel is different from a lot of self-help channels. The reason why this is because I preach emotional vulnerability. Okay, this is something that a lot of self-help or advice channels don't really touch on, especially those aimed specifically at men. And the reason why is because in society, we are taught that men are not supposed to be emotional. We're not supposed to be emotionally vulnerable. And a lot of people can relate when I say that. Just generally speaking, there is a stigma, and a lot of us have this subconscious belief that as men, we have to be more emotionally composed, and we have to represent strength as opposed to weakness and being emotional, because people think that men are supposed to be logical and women are supposed to be emotional, and they completely disregard the fact that we all have our own balance and we're all unique beings. And I think that this right here is basically toxic masculinity. Okay, it is toxic masculinity at its finest. Some people say toxic masculinity does not exist, and I disagree. The people that say that are probably the people that need to watch this video the most, because they are probably amongst the most insecure people out there. Those are the same people who will put others down for expressing their emotions, for being emotionally vulnerable, and giving validation to all other men who feel that same way deep down. The same men who are suppressing their emotions for the sake of how others are going to perceive them. I see straight through the comments. Back in the day when I used to post a lot of spoken word, and I was going through a lot, and I was basically expressing all parts of myself, the deepest, darkest parts of myself. I used to get a lot of comments from people saying that, I was being feminine in showing emotion and things like that. And honestly, I wasn't even mad. I was more surprised. Like, I had never really encountered that degree of insecurity and that lack of self-awareness ever in my life until I started making those videos. And mind you, I didn't get that much hate, but the comments that I did get on those videos, they stuck out to me. And, like I said, I wasn't mad at them for making those comments. I was surprised and kind of frustrated at the fact that, these people were only speaking from the conditioning that they had received. They were projecting what they thought they couldn't do onto me. They believed that because they can't be emotional, because they feel like, they have to live for other people's perceptions of them, and they have to fit a certain archetype to be a real man. They felt like everyone had to fit that same archetype. And like I said, it's all insecurity, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Yes, they did choose to buy into these belief systems, but truth be told, most of us have at some point or another, especially in America. I don't know what it's like in other countries. Maybe, the gender roles are a little more fluid, but here in America, the idea of being a man, there is a stigma attached to that idea. Okay, there is a set defined idea of what it means to be masculine, of what it means to be strong, what it means to be a leader. And I feel like I break that stereotype. I feel like I do not fit into that stereotype whatsoever. And I don't try to. I don't think anyone should try to fit into a stereotype to appease other people, because at the end of the day, when you die, those people are not going to be in that coffin with you. So you need to start living for yourself. Stop suppressing your emotions. I say this all the time in my videos, but suppressing your emotions is probably the quickest way to depression and anxiety. When you suppress your emotions, those emotions create thoughts within your head. Okay, you create negative thought cycles in your mind, and they'll manifest themselves into your physical reality. And it'll only perpetuate that mindset that you've created for yourself and give you that confirmation bias, and it'll turn you into a very bitter person. And I see a lot of this, especially on YouTube. A lot of men on YouTube, whether it's in the comments or people who make videos, are very bitter about different things because they choose to suppress their emotions. And then in order to justify them doing this, they divert the blame onto other people. And I'm not really going to get into specifics for that, but I think some of you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about because I've talked about it quite a bit in the past. But suppressing your emotions is not sustainable. It's not sustainable at all. And you will end up, depressed. You'll end up feeling anxious all the time because you feel something wrong but you don't know what it is. And the reason why you don't know what it is because you no longer have that degree of self-awareness to understand your emotions. You lack emotional intelligence because you never learned what your emotions were. You've never given yourself the chance to feel emotions thoroughly. And that's why a lot of people, especially men, like I said, hold on to trauma. They hold on to trauma and project it onto other people. The key to getting past this is expressing your emotions. Okay, you need to learn to express your emotions. A lot of men are not comfortable with this, okay, including myself. Earlier this year, I was basically in that same boat, and I didn't even realize it. It was subconscious. But, before this year, I probably cried like one time in the past 5 years. And mind you, I'm still a young dude. Like between the ages of 15 to 20, I maybe cried 1 or 2 times, maximum. I wasn't in tune with myself as a result, and I kept wondering why I was depressed, why I started having anxiety, why was I feeling all of these feelings. But then, when I allowed myself to feel emotions thoroughly, when I gave myself the space to express my emotions, not only in privacy, but for everyone to see so that I can give other people that validation to do the same thing, I started to feel a lot better. You have to understand that when you express your emotions, you become more emotionally intelligent. The best teacher in life is experience, okay? Experiencing something for yourself. So when you give yourself the chance to experience emotions, you are going to learn a lot more about your emotions. And you'll be able to have the self-awareness to recognize when you're feeling a certain way, and you can allow yourself to feel that emotion thoroughly instead of suppressing it and letting it snowball into something much more dangerous for your well-being. And also, because you have that self-awareness, you can help others find that self-awareness within themselves as well, which is what I do. And like I said, I feel like that is what separates my channel from a lot of other self-help channels, is that a lot of those channels do not integrate the idea of emotional intelligence. Okay, they preach stoicism, which stoicism is not a bad thing. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but stoicism is not a bad thing. But you have to understand that stoicism is absolutely nothing without emotional intelligence. Okay, you need emotional intelligence so that you can learn emotional control. Okay, you need to learn to control your emotions to be a stoic. Now, like I said, without emotional intelligence, you can't control your emotions because you don't know anything about them. Suppressing your emotions is not controlling them. It's hiding from them. Okay, once you have the emotional intelligence to control your emotions, this is where the idea of transmutation comes in. And I speak about this a lot in my NoFap videos, but this definitely works in terms of your emotions as well. You want to be able to transmute your emotions into productive, healthy outlets. You want to do things that are going to be conducive to a happier, more productive and fulfilling life where you're on your purpose, you love the people that are around you, and you're doing everything that you want to do. You're getting everything that you want out of life, and you're serving people to the best of your ability. But you can't serve anybody until you learn to serve yourself. And how are you going to serve yourself if you won't even give yourself the chance to feel your emotions thoroughly? If your best friend was going through a tough time in their life, you would not tell them to suck it up. And if you would, you are a terrible friend. I'm sorry to inform you. You're a bad friend, okay? If you have a friend that is going through something, whatever it may be, a breakup, they lost their job, whatever it might be, you're going to be there for them. And you should learn to be there for yourself in the same way. You should be there for yourself emotionally. You should be there to experience all of your emotions thoroughly. Allow yourself to go through that whole process. And what you'll find is that that process will help you grow. Because like I said, experience is the best teacher. Now, like I said, once you get to that point where you're able to control your emotions, not suppress, but control your emotions, that's where the idea of transmutation comes in. So for example, say you're mad, okay? Everybody gets mad. There's nothing wrong with being angry. Even if you're on your spiritual journey and, your vibration is high, you're trying to keep it high, being angry is a part of that because everything is relative. All feelings are relative. You can't have happiness without sadness. It's a yin yang. You need both sides to balance each other out. Without one, the other will not exist. So say, for example, you're feeling mad. Go to the gym. Or, if the gym is closed, then just do push-ups where you are. Just do push-ups, do some type of workout, do something physical to expend that energy and make yourself better in the process. You know, if you use anger to fuel yourself, to give yourself that motivation, you can get a lot of things done. Say, for example, you're feeling sad, okay? This is where art comes into play. You know, you want to express this in an artistic way, or maybe not. You know, maybe you can just journal or talk to somebody that you trust. But, you know, you can turn these feelings into art. For example, with me, you know, I turned to poetry. You know, I never was into poetry until I started to experience such a degree of despair that I had no other way to express my feelings in their entirety. You know, it took a certain level of artistry to truly articulate what I was feeling. And, you know, I can always go back and listen to those poems and, you know, relive those feelings, except now with a broader perspective. You know, I can see how me feeling those feelings was necessary for me to get to where I am now with every single poem that I've written. And that's very important, you know, being able to look back and see why your feelings were necessary. If you don't give yourself the chance to feel anything, then you won't grow. You're going to stay where you are emotionally, and that's going to limit how much you can achieve in your life.